Hi, everyone. This week, our topic is one of the most divisive presidents in 20th century American history, Bill Clinton. I'm going to make a point right now at the beginning of this PowerPoint, and it's one I'll repeat at the end of our final PowerPoint for this week, and that is regardless of what you think about Clinton as a president or as a person, even, he is an important transitional president because he's our first baby boomer president. Presidents before him, really, the pivotal event in their lives had been World War II, with several presidents prior to Clinton who were World War II veterans. George H.W. Bush, whom Clinton defeats in the 1992 election, was a World War II veteran, a carrier pilot. And Clinton's presidency is going to mark really the end of that generation, that is, the World War II generation, attaining the presidency. And another thing about this may not seem like a big deal, but in some ways you can compare Clinton on this point in terms of being a transitional president to John Kennedy. You think back, this was something that I mentioned about John Kennedy in class. Kennedy being an important transitional president because he was the first president born in the 20th century. And he made a point of emphasizing that in his famous inaugural address, where he said the torch had been passed to a new generation. And that wasn't just impressive rhetoric. The two presidents prior to Kennedy, Dwight Eisenhower and Harry Truman, were both born in the 19th century, and that shaped their outlook on the world in many ways. And kind of startling when you think about it. I mean, when Dwight Eisenhower was born in the little town of Abilene, Kansas, there were very few cars in the community into which he was born. There were still more people using horses at the time. Harry Truman, born in the 19th century, and Truman's tastes reflected that. He didn't like modern art, didn't like modern music. His tastes in music were strictly classical. Truman played the piano fairly well, and about as rocking as Truman ever got was playing something like Stephen Foster's The Camptown Races. So going back to Clinton, being a transitional president as a boomer, again, his reference points from growing up completely different from his predecessors. His reference points are things like the advent of television in the 1950s, the emergence of the civil rights movement, the United States landing on the moon, rock and roll, the Vietnam War. These are all things that Clinton experienced, had to contend with. And so it really shapes his outlook and differentiates him from his predecessors. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Bill Clinton came from a small town in Arkansas, Hope, Arkansas. Really, the most influential figures in his early life were women, primarily his mother, his grandmother. His biological father was killed in an auto accident before Clinton was born. His stepfather, from whom he took his name, was a gambler and alcoholic. He was verbally and physically abusive to Clinton's mother. Clinton had numerous physical confrontations with this guy as when Clinton was a teenager. So it was not the most stable upbringing. He was always an overachiever, very bright. I think still the best biography of Clinton is one by a journalist named David Marinus called First in His Class. And Clinton is a classic example of somebody who achieves the education he does through scholarships. You can see in this slide he attended Georgetown University on an academic scholarship, but he also worked while he was a student. And you can see that his interest in government was reflected by his running for student council president at Georgetown University. He had been involved in student government in high school and even in middle school. So he excelled in just about every subject as a student growing up, was a talented saxophone player, and for a time even thought he might make a career as a musician, but gradually came to the conclusion that he was interested in law school and public service. You see the picture here too. Clinton as a law student at Yale University, where he met his future wife, Hillary Rodham. Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar, studied abroad at Oxford for a year, so a high academic record for Clinton growing up. Clinton and his wife, Hillary, after law school, initially both were faculty members at the University of Arkansas Law School. This was in the early 1970s, and from that, Clinton transitioned into politics, serving several times as governor of Arkansas. Hillary Clinton, meanwhile, worked for one of the larger law firms in Little Rock. Her specialty was medical law primarily. They had a daughter, Chelsea, that was their only child. Hillary Clinton was really the primary wage earner in the family. She was extremely successful as a lawyer. Her income was substantially higher than Clinton's. Governor of Arkansas in the 1980s was not a high-paying position. This was the basis of Clinton's political experience before running for the presidency. So in 1992, the Republican candidate George H.W. Bush is running. There was an extremely crowded field of Democratic candidates. Eric Foner talks about this in the reading that you did, and Clinton was really almost completely unknown. His emergence from the field of other Democrats came primarily because he was an extremely skilled campaigner, very intelligent. As a note here, detailed knowledge of the issues, both economic, foreign policy. He had a good sense of humor that impressed audiences, an ability to poke fun at himself. And it's interesting during this campaign that Hillary Clinton already became a divisive figure herself. She was subjected to a lot of sexist treatment from the mainstream media. And you can see an example of that from this cover of Time magazine. The Hillary factor, is she helping or hurting her husband? She was outspoken. And even in 1992, I think there was this prevailing attitude that the wives of potential candidates should kind of stand by their husband's side and smile and not have much to say. And if you think about it, that's kind of an absurd standard given the activism of Eleanor Roosevelt all the way back in the 1930s and 40s, who was deeply involved in most of the domestic policy decisions that Franklin Roosevelt made. He often turned to her for advice. And as we talked about earlier in the semester, Eleanor often served as Franklin Roosevelt's legs, going out and visiting New Deal projects to see how things were going. And I think with Hillary Clinton, there are a variety of reasons for why she became something of a lightning rod. And some of it had to do with people very early on, going back to when Clinton had been governor of Arkansas, didn't like the fact that she was a feminist, didn't like the fact that she was a career woman, didn't like the fact that she was pro-choice, didn't like the fact that she was outspoken, and all these things began to bubble up with Clinton as a candidate. Only now these issues became known beyond Arkansas, that is about Hillary Clinton. They became part of the discussion, the national discussion, really, of Clinton as a candidate. And the public also got a preview of the sorts of problems that were going to plague Clinton as president. And it was during the 1992 campaign. Now, again, this is right about at the point when Clinton has secured sufficient number of delegates to be the Democratic Party candidate, that a woman named Jennifer Flowers claimed to have had a relationship with Clinton during the time he was governor of Arkansas. And the media shied away from this story initially because it first appeared in a publication called the National Enquirer. You've probably seen the National Enquirer when you've been in the checkout line at Schnucks or Deerberg's. That's usually where you'll find it. It's a tabloid newspaper type publication that specializes in salacious stories, a lot of Hollywood gossip. It's not known for printing accurate stories or even truthful stories. So the fact that Jennifer Flowers' account first appeared in the National Enquirer and the fact that it came out that she had been paid a substantial amount of money for her story made the mainstream media a little bit shy about reporting the story. And at first, Bill Clinton even denied knowing her. And that prompted her to release excerpts from phone conversations that she had recorded, which was a risky move because it's illegal to record someone during a phone conversation without their knowledge. So she was subjecting herself, leaving herself open to litigation. And there was nothing explicit in the excerpts of these conversations she released, but they clearly showed that she and Clinton were familiar with one another, and it made clear that Clinton had been lying when he said he didn't even know her. So Clinton then went on the CBS News show 60 Minutes with Hillary, admitted to, as I note here on the slide, causing pain in his marriage. That was as far as he would go. This is the famous interview where Hillary Clinton said, "I'm not sitting here like Tammy Wynette, just standing by my man. I'm here because despite our problems, I respect him, I still love him, and if that's not good enough for you, then heck, don't vote for him." And this appearance salvaged Clinton's candidacy. So Clinton's opponent, I mentioned, George H.W. Bush, had been very high approval ratings right after the Persian Gulf War of the early 90s. But an economic recession had hit the country. There were renewed questions about the outcome of the first Gulf War, especially the fact that Saddam Hussein was still in power. And George H.W. Bush, whom we skipped over, really never carved out his own identity as a candidate. He had been elected in 1998 by vowing to continue Ronald Reagan's policies. And he was forced to raise taxes when the recession hit. And I just don't think Bush ever really was able to move completely out from under Ronald Reagan's shadow. And you're going to be watching a clip from one of the debates between Bill Clinton and George H.W. Bush for your discussion activity this week. And I'll be interested to see what you have to say about that, but it's an example showing the strength of Clinton as a candidate and how Bush frequently seemed kind of defensive on the campaign trail. Our next PowerPoint do a brief overview of Clinton as president.